What's up, guys? Hello. Welcome to Saturday Night Crypto. I'm your host, Kevin Lambert. And how have you guys been doing this week? It's been an okay week. Not bad relative to some of the other weeks we've had. Let's see who we've got in the chat. We've got a few folks here. Cool. Hi, guys. This is an interactive stream. If you guys are new, feel free to say hi, introduce yourself, ask any questions you want. There's no such thing as a bad question or dumb question. If you want to ask what is Bitcoin, if you want to ask how is Ethereum different from Bitcoin, any beginner question is fine. All the way down to, hey, can you look at this chart and explain your personal feelings on this indicator, or how do I use this indicator? No question is too advanced or too beginner. Happy to help out. So let's talk a little bit about what the entire market cap of crypto has done in the last week. So last week was the end of September, the 29th. So that was about here. Let's see, about here at $222 billion market cap. Now we're at 217, so we lost about 5 billion, which is not a big deal. So it's about the same. So it's not really much change. Like, these are big changes here, these big swings. When this happens in a week, you make this kind of move or this kind of move. But we're kind of ranging right now. So Bitcoin, since the 29th, has not changed much, right? It was, in fact, it hasn't changed at all. So really, the 5 billion has come out of alts. Is that true? 29th. 108 to 103. Yeah, so the $5 billion market cap change pretty much came exclusively out of the altcoin market this past week, right? And let's take a look at the board. I call this the dartboard. Those of you guys who have been on the stream before have heard me use this term. I call it the dartboard because I use the analogy that, if someone would sell you a bunch of darts to throw at this board, would you want to throw it when they're all red, or would you rather throw them when they're green and you really can't miss, right? For you to hit one of the greens right now, it's actually pretty hard. And I'm saying that just because, like, statistically, your chances of making money in a market where all of the alts are red is tough. And just because you have one green day does not mean that it's a good time to be playing in the alt playground. You want to have a good week, at least solid week of green, or 2 weeks or 3 weeks of green for you to be really confident about this. So for right now, it's been mostly red, a day of green, mostly red, a day of green, 2 days of green, even 3 days maybe, but that's about all we've had. And as you can see in the last week, alts lost about $5 billion in market cap, so that's not been awesome. Let's take a look. Let's zoom way out here and see where we're at. So just looking at Bitcoin against the US dollar, for example, we're still in this descending triangle pattern that we've been in since the beginning of the year, pretty much, and we have not broken it yet. And now, most recently, if we just get in a little closer, let's go to the 4 hour and zoom in a little bit. So if we get in a little closer, we're kind of range bound in here, in this area here, between 6,800 and about 6,100 or so. But, going in even closer to like the 1 hour time frame, right, we have this nice pattern here where, excluding this wick down here, we've got this higher lows forming, which is good because there's some support here on this trend, right? And if you want to look at it, just this here, this is an ascending triangle pattern, right? And if you want to look up what that means, ascending triangle pattern. Now, nothing is 100%, but when you see an ascending triangle, most of the time, the higher probability move out of an ascending triangle is to break up, 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 right? Which is really interesting because in the context of a descending triangle, this larger one here, the higher probability move is to break down from there. So here we are in an ascending triangle, a little ascending triangle in the middle of this giant descending triangle, right? So it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays. I think what this tells me personally, my interpretation of this is that on the shorter time frames, we're likely to see an upward break out of here. At which point we'll come up against our diagonal trend resistance here and then come back down. But that's going to take us up to about a little over 7,000. So there is some room here to break upward. That's kind of higher probability move. And then once we come down, unfortunately, with this descending triangle, unless there's some news, the higher probability move is going to be a breakdown, and it could be a very big one. I mean, look how big this triangle is. It's huge. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say exactly what's going to happen, but I'm looking for a break up from here and then a retest. So something like this, and then it might kind of bounce in here a little more, and then a break up, and then a retest, and then a run at this resistance, and then a bounce. Something like that. Tesla, great show. I love it. Maybe giant descending triangle has higher priority. Well, it does. It does on anything on a larger time frame has priority over a shorter time frame. But that doesn't mean that it's not one or the other necessarily, right? This could be a both and, right? Like as you can see here, it could break up out of this smaller ascending triangle and then break down out of the larger one. Like it's hard to say. And it's not a guarantee. Like descending triangles sometimes do break upward and ascending triangles do break downward. But the higher probability move, if you look at 1,000 of them, more than 50% will break in the direction of the slope of the triangle, right? In this case, it's down. In this case, it's up, right? So, we'll just be watching for that over the next, I would say that the smaller one is going to resolve probably in the next week, maybe by our next show next week. We should have a resolution on this one. If not, for sure the second week, and then we're going to be watching real carefully. And if it does break up through here, that would be amazing. That would be a great story for the bulls. It's hard to say if that's going to happen. There's no fundamental reason why we're going to break up or down, because there's no ETF approval news coming in the near future. Like there's just nothing on the books, right? And anything that does happen is going to be a surprise, and it's going to be like something like, hey, Binance launched their new decentralized exchange and it's huge, or some big institution decided to invest $5 billion into crypto, or Tether printed another however many $1 billion in Tether. So, all of those things are going to have some impact on the price, but you can't really predict them. So the best use for technical analysis is in the absence of news, when there's just organic buying and selling, the human psychology component of, supply and demand and what people think without any news, right? And that's why TA works so well, because humans just follow patterns, psychological patterns. So that's Bitcoin. So one thing to remember here is, no matter, people will see a green day here and they're like, oh, happy day. And they'll say, hey, it's time to get back in. And they'll just start slinging money around. Don't forget, we are still in a bear market. Until this larger triangle breaks upward, we are still in a bear market. Now, we can be on a small bull run within a bear market like this. A small bull run here, a little, like while we were doing this, it was a bull run and then a correction, and then this might, it's bullish, but it's not a bull market. A bull market is what we saw in the end of 2017. This right here, gentlemen, is a bull market, okay? Don't confuse a bull market for a small bull run, which we have experienced a few times this year, okay? A bull market lasts a long time. And as you can see, a bear market lasts a long time too. I mean, that's a long, I mean, we're here 10 months in, 10 months into this bear market, and it's still there, right? Markets last a long time. And they don't just snap and end. They don't go bam, bam. They usually slow down, then they accumulate, and then they'll go in the other direction, right? Although this was kind of a sharp end to this bull market here. It didn't accumulate and then go south. But the way that bear markets usually end is in this kind of a pattern. It kind of goes down, then it kind of levels out, then it kind of goes up. And it's done the same thing for like several years. If you look back at 2015, 2016, 2017, you'll notice the same pattern with the bear markets, which lasted anywhere from 6 months to 13 months. So we're not even in the longest bear market we've seen in crypto. So there's still several months before we hit a record for a bear market. And so it will be interesting to watch that. If you compare bear market with history, how long can the bear markets take? Yeah, so I just kind of answered that. Bear markets can... I used to have a chart somewhere, and I looked for it a couple of weeks ago. I couldn't find it really easily. I should get that. I'm going to take a note to go find that. Let me take a note. Find bear market length charts. All right, so I will try to look that up for next week. But basically, the longest bear market has been around 13 to 16 months, I think, if memory serves. So, and that was back in, I want to say, 2015. There was a bear market that lasted that long after a, 70% correction from its top at the time, which was, I don't know, a few $100s in Bitcoin, and then it just crashed down to the 100 or sub 100 price point, sat there for like a year and change, and then finally went up again. But what's interesting is there's always some catalyst that reverses the bear market. It's not just like, hey, it's time to buy again. I mean, there's a little bit of that, but for a bear market to truly turn into a bull market, there has to be a catalyst. For example, Coinbase going wide with their marketing in 2017 and reaching so many new people and so much new fiat coming into the ecosystem. And my personal opinion is that in 2019, the catalyst for a bull market is going to be the acceptance of a Bitcoin ETF, which is going to be due in the February 2019 timeframe. Now, if an ETF gets approved by the SEC, that's just going to open the floodgates to a ton of institutional money, loading up, getting ready, coming into the space, and not to mention just Bitcoin ETFs, but other ETFs such as Ethereum, some of the other high market cap coins. So that is the kind of thing that can move a market in the other direction. And I think that will be our next catalyst, is when the first Bitcoin ETF is approved by the SEC. Which could be as early, in my opinion, as February 2019. I don't think we will see anything before that. And I've mentioned that time and time again as the Van Eck ETF was coming up for a decision. I said, it's going to be postponed. It's going to be postponed. It was postponed, right? And all those other ETFs got denied and postponed, and we don't really care about those because they weren't asset-backed. They weren't fundamentally strong like the Van Eck ETF was. But keep your eye on that one. It's the one everybody's hanging their hat on. If that one should get denied, it could be a cold winter for a little while longer, but by then we should be into next year, and we'll see what happens. What was the catalyst for the December 2017? So that was Coinbase. That was Coinbase reaching out to so many new people, and just kind of the mass awareness of the public getting into crypto. Hairdressers, grocery store clerks, taxi drivers, like everybody's talking about crypto just because the word spread so fast. And Coinbase was signing up like 100,000 new accounts every week. That was an influx of a lot of new money into the space, which of course is going to push the high market cap coins up, right? If you look at Coin Market Cap, and if I were to tell you, hey, $100 billion is going to come into the space, where do you think that money is going to go? It's going to go into these guys here on the top, right? Because everybody's just going to buy the top market cap coins, right? Anybody who's buying is going to be buying those. Now, when an institution gets in, you're going to be looking at the top three, probably maybe top five market cap coins, because an institution has way more money than 100,000 consumers a week, right? When an institution goes in, they go in, right? We're talking billions and billions and trillions of dollars, which would just be ridiculous. I mean, the impact of that kind of money coming into the crypto space cannot be underestimated. Like, it's huge. It's huge. So, but they're all on the sidelines right now, waiting for, more regulation, waiting for some safer vehicles to invest in, like an ETF, which doesn't exist yet. So it'll be really interesting to see. So let's look at a couple of charts here. Let's start with Ethereum. Let's look at Ethereum versus the US dollar. So Ethereum has not had fun times. It's been just kind of constantly going down all the way since it's kind of it was up here, even since May, when it was up at like $800, all the way down to a low of just under 200, 175. Like, how much was that? That was 80%. No, it was more than that. Yeah, it was about 80%. Just since May, Ethereum has dropped 80%. And part of that is just sort of representative of how wrecked a lot of the altcoins are getting. Ethereum can be kind of considered like the mother of all altcoins, right? Because it's kind of like the best, the top market cap altcoin. But also Ethereum has a unique reason for its decline, in that so many ICOs used Ethereum to raise their money. And when the price of Ethereum started dropping so sharply, a lot of these projects had to sell their reserves just to be solvent, right? Just to pay their employees, just to keep the lights on for their project, which is really sad. But I mean, projects need money. People have lives and paychecks, and you got to make payroll, right? So a lot of ICOs had to sell their Ethereum because they were panicking. And even though now it's going up and they're probably regretting having done that, you got to do what you got to do to pay the bills, right? So now, since that low, Ethereum's kind of back up 35%, which is pretty good. Pretty good. And it's kind of got the same kind of pattern that Bitcoin has, with where it's making higher lows here. It's looking pretty good. I was looking at points to accumulate Ethereum, and I had drawn these green bars here. One of them hit. It looks like the second one did not quite hit. No, so this green area never really hit for Ethereum. But let's see. How does Ethereum look now? RSI is smack in the middle, so not much to tell there. Let me put another indicator on here. Let's put the Bollinger Bands on. I like to use these. So just had a very solid, convincing smackdown from this candle here, off the top of the Bollinger Bands, and kind of working its way down to the Bollinger Band middle, and we'll see what happens if it bounces off it. But it's more than likely kind of going to do one of these and then head down to the bottom here. We have a red Ichimoku cloud coming up, although it's very twisty. Like, you got red then green again, so it's hard to say. Ichimoku cloud isn't really telling you much because we're in the cloud right now, which is kind of like a no trade zone. I do have a video teaching the Ichimoku cloud indicator, and I break it down really cleanly for you guys. If you want to look on my YouTube channel, just type Ichimoku cloud. I'll link it there in the chat, and feel free to ask any question about any of these indicators that you guys may have. So, no really strong signal there. It looks like the bands are kind of tightening, and what that happens when these blue lines here, let me hide everything except those. I'm even going to hide this. I'll leave that on. So when these little these teal lines here, when they squeeze in like that, that usually means that there's going to be that means that price hasn't moved significantly in a while. And it's kind of, think of it like the kinetic energy of a spring. The more you push a spring down, then you let it go, it just goes bam, right? Like, it goes bam. And it doesn't necessarily go up. It could go down. But when the bands squeeze and when these guys kind of get in really tight like this, and you see this kind of thing happening, the price is either going to go or it's going to go. That usually happens. It's very common. What happened to crypto miners? In the last crypto winter bear market, did they suffer like miners today? I think resistance could be related with miners' profitability. There is a correlation between mining profitability and, like the number of miners. I mean, it's really interesting, though, because you may decide that, hey, I was barely making a profit with my mining rig based on my power costs and all of my other associated costs with it. And you might drop out because of that. But that does two things, right? If a bunch of miners drop out, that lowers the rate at which, people are mining, but it also raises the rewards for the people who stayed in, right? Because now they're getting more because a bunch of people dropped out. It's kind of like masternodes. If a bunch of masternodes exit the system, all the people left get more, so that's good for them. But if enough people have to drop, it's like a mass exodus, and that would be bad. But I mean, your mining power pretty much has to go to zero for it to be bad for the coin. You have to have so many miners drop that the transaction speeds take a hit, and that just it doesn't really happen in my experience. Hasn't really happened. Bitcoin would have to go well below like probably 3K for like that kind of panic to set in for that many miners to be exiting the system. Let's look at some other strong fundamental altcoins, and the ones I like to use as kind of a litmus test are what I call the Coinbase crew, which are the 5 cryptocurrencies that Coinbase said we are considering listing, starting with Stellar, which is a very high market cap coin. Let's look at it here. We've been tracking this ever since the Coinbase announcement where they were going to consider listing it, which was all the way back here in July, where Coinbase said, hey, we are considering listing, Stellar, Zcash, 0x, BAT, and ZRX, and BAT, and BAT. Yeah, we'll go through all of these, but and when that happened, there was a huge, almost 50% gain in the price, over a very short period of time. And since then, of course, Coinbase hasn't done anything. There hasn't been any more announcements. They're just, probably working diligently to get some of these assets listed, or what I think they're probably more likely doing is actually working through the regulations of, listing a coin that may or may not be a security, and is it a security, and even if it is, can we list it, and just working through the regulatory waters. I think that's the major holdup, because technically, to list these coins from a technical perspective, it's not that hard. So I think the only reason we haven't seen more Coinbase coins is just because they're working through the regulations. More on that later. But since that announcement, right, the price of Stellar dropped all the way back down to where it was, exactly like a perfect bounce, in fact, off of this fib line, this gray line here, 100% retracement, and then actually from that point it went all the way up again, almost another perfect bounce. This is ridiculous. I mean, these lines were drawn in July, and look how perfectly the bounces have been occurring off of these lines, right? It's amazing, right? And people say TA doesn't work, right? So, right to the 100% back retracement back again, and now we've got kind of this, descending triangle pattern here off the 50% fib, which is a bearish sentiment, I would say, at this point, although it also has a Bollinger Band bounce here. So we'll need to see if it can break through, if it can bounce upwards from here. The RSI is kind of low, and the RSI itself is forming, a nice positive slope there, a positive slope. And so what that says to me, actually, let's zoom in here because there is a little divergence here. So what I see is lower lows in the price and higher lows in the oscillator, right? An RSI is just an oscillator. So let's show this a little more cleanly here, right? So higher lows in the oscillator, lower lows here, and what that's called is a bullish divergence pattern. And let's take a look at that, right? So a bullish divergence is lower bottoms in the price and higher bottoms. Let's just try lower bottoms in the price, higher bottoms in the oscillator, which is exactly what we see here. Lower bottoms, higher bottoms. So this indicator alone is not enough to say, hey, this is an entry, let's buy. However, if there's confluence with other indicators, it could be interesting. So let's take a look at some other ones for Stellar, for example. I'm just kind of looking at this live, and this is just pretty much what I do every time I look at charts. I look for patterns, I see patterns, and I say, oh, there's something good or bad. Are there any more things good or bad? And if there are enough of those things that all pile on, then you say, oh, this could be a good trade. You know, maybe you take one. So that's bullish. That is one bullish indicator. Here we are bouncing off the bottom of the Bollinger Bands. That is bullish because usually you at least get to the middle. The middle isn't very high from here, but it is a little bit. From here to the middle is, let's draw it. From where the price is right now to the middle, it's like 0.6%. That's not really much. But to the top of the Bollinger Bands is 2.45%. 2.45% in a bear market is not bad at all, right? Now in a bull market, 2.45% is like, 2.5%, it's nothing, right? You just throw your dart at the wall anywhere and you get 2.5%. But in a bear market, 2.5% is just fine. Nothing wrong with that at all. So this would be interesting. Let's take a look at the Ichimoku cloud and see if we see anything. We're just way under the cloud. Way under the cloud. So that's not telling us anything. RSI, you know, there's a divergence, but the RSI itself is, I don't know. This is fairly, but then we see the larger descending triangle pattern that we're in, right? Since kind of the middle of September. So that's bearish. So now you got a couple bullish indicators, a bearish indicator, and now it's a little more mixed, right? So you're like, I'm not so sure about that. I kind of want to see what happens with this triangle pattern here before I would consider getting into this. I'd want to see what happens here. Now, if it breaks up out of this, that would be a good time to catch a little bit of that wave. But right now, hard to say. That said, Stellar, of the Coinbase crew, Stellar is doing probably the best of all of them. Like, look at this, you know, up, you know, full retracement, then all the way back up to its high, and then kind of back down about half. So let's pick another one. Let's look at ZRX, Bitfinex. So this tells a much different story, right? This area here is the Coinbase announcement. And since then, right, we saw Stellar kind of do this, and then this, and then this, right? That's what Stellar did. Meanwhile, ZRX, poor ZRX, you know, just tanked all the way down. Not only did it retrace, you know, here and then 100, here and then 100%, but then it kept going. I mean, all the way down here past 160% of that announcement. So ZRX just got wrecked. But then it had a nice recovery, and now, like, this portion of the chart looks better than Stellar, right? This is a, you know, hey, bullish, we are going up as far as which direction the coin is headed. RSI also has a positive slope, so not telling us too much. It is approaching the danger zone here, right? Like, when you get up into the 70 plus range on the RSI, which is let's make this bigger, up in this area here, this black area up in here. Once you get up into there, those are called overbought conditions. And, you know, when you look here, we were up there here, price did a little drop, we were here, Price did a little drop, right? So we're kind of getting up there again. So based on that, I would not be looking to buy ZRX. So that's a bearish. That's a be careful indicator. Even though you've got this ascending triangle. Now, if we break out of that, then this is going to hang out up here for a while the price goes off. But you're going to be wanting to watch the top area of this triangle to see if that happens. Fundamentally, however, so that's the technical analysis on ZRX. Fundamentally, if you guys have heard me talk about this coin, I think personally that this is the most likely Coinbase listing next. And the reason I think that is because Coinbase has made it very clear that they want to be listing a lot of ERC20 tokens, which are tokens that are based on the Ethereum blockchain, right? And there's a lot of them. You know, all the ICOs and just a bunch of coins, you know, there's hundreds of them. And Coinbase wants to be able to offer those. And once it can offer one, it can offer any of them. Like once you have the technology to trade ERC20 based tokens. And that is what ZRX does. They allow communication and, you know, they allow the protocol to be able to transfer coins on the Ethereum blockchain. Right? So it makes a lot of sense for Coinbase to enable this technology if they want access to the full suite of ERC20 tokens, which they've said publicly they want to do. Not only that, but they said we're considering adding ZRX to our exchange. Not only that, but if you look at screenshots of Coinbase wallets and apps that have not been released, they all have ZRX in them, right? Like, it just seems so obvious to me that it's going to be. Now, it may not be, there might be a few of them that come at once, but I feel like from a business perspective, it's in their best interest to get this working. And they may already have it working, right? And they're just waiting for the regulation to resolve. That's kind of what I think. I imagine they already have ZRX working at Coinbase, but they're not going to do anything until they are safe from any kind of government SEC shenanigans in the United States, because they pride themselves on being like kind of the most consumer-friendly exchange out there, the one that like grandma can sign up for if she wants to buy Bitcoin. And in order for them to keep that, they have to play very, very nice with regulations in the US. And so that means probably moving a little slower than another crypto exchange that doesn't have to worry about that. And they're just like, hey, we added Ripple. Hey, we added this. Hey, we added that for fiat, right? Like other exchanges can do that. Coinbase can't if they want to retain their position as kind of like grandma's cryptocurrency exchange, right? Exchange. Tesla asks, why are almost all coins, do they all move at the same time, like literally the same second? That is a really good question. I used to rack my brain over how that could possibly be, and here is my explanation for why that happens. So, you know that a lot of people use bots, right? A lot of the trading that's happening today uses bots, right? And you can just see that as orders are just going, the order books are just flying left and right, like faster than any human could hit a button. Orders coming on, going off, like literally milliseconds orders, right? That's a lot of bots that are running. And so what I think is happening is that when, you know, Bitcoin makes a move, for example, goes down. Let's say Bitcoin drops like 2% in a sharp decline. You know, a big whale sells a lot of Bitcoin or something like that, right? So I think all of the bots get a notification, hey, Bitcoin just dropped 2%. And so all these bots are in all these people have all of these altcoins, and their bot says, hey, Bitcoin's going down. We need to get out. Like the water is cold. Let's get out of the market temporarily. So what that does is that it immediately initiates a market sell on that coin for Bitcoin, and then immediately it initiates a market sell of Bitcoin to Tether or USDT or fiat or something, right? And it all happens at the same time, right? So as soon as Bitcoin drops, all the market sells on the altcoins happen too. Bam, exactly the same time, because bots are handling it. And then, you know, people get out, and then once Bitcoin starts dropping, they get back in and all the coins go back up, right? they resume their positions and you get market buys to get back in. So it's almost like somebody hit pause on the entire crypto market and everybody's like, car, okay, game on, right? It's kind of like that. That's why I think so many alts move at the same time. Not everything does, though, which is really interesting, right? If you look at coins like Binance Coin, there was an inverse relationship to Bitcoin at the beginning of 2018, where Bitcoin was constantly working its way down, and Binance Coin was constantly working its way up, right? So there are some coins that will flip with Bitcoin, but there has to be something fundamental about it or different about it for that to happen. Like if you just take some random low market cap altcoin, it's going to move exactly with Bitcoin or at least all of the other alts when they go up or down. Unless there's like a pump and dump on it or something. So ZRX looks good recently, but it took a hell of a beating. And I think fundamentally, this coin is in an excellent position as far as a Coinbase listing sometime in the future when they feel that they are safe to do so from the regulation perspective. Let's take a look at another coin. Let's look at Zcash, where I did the same thing. So Zcash, way back here is the Coinbase announcement right there. And as you can see, this one got wrecked as well. Full retrace, then all the way down here. And now it kind of looks like ZRX from this point on, where, you know, it's back up about, let's see, it's back up now 16% from its all-time low. So on the way back up for Zcash. Not as fundamentally strong as ZRX, but the pattern looks pretty much the same from the technical perspective. Got beat down really low, and now it's on its way back up. Not really much to see in the indicators. It's just, you know, kind of ranging in here. Let's take a look at BAT. Oh, Cardano was the other one I forgot to mention. We'll get to that. Here is BAT. So BAT looks a lot like the other two, not Stellar, but the other two that we've looked at, right? Zcash and ZRX, where we had the run up here, full retrace, and then way down here below the 160%. And now it's just kind of slowly climbing its way back up out of there. Looks like it's trying to get past this 160% retrace, and it looks like it's done it, but we'll have to see where that goes. Hard to say. The chart looks pretty good. I mean, it got beat down really low. I had some accumulation zones for this here, and it hit all three of them, right? Bounced perfectly out of this one here. If you had set a bid here, you know, you'd be up, let's say you set it in the middle, you know, you'd be up 22%, which is pretty good if you had set that. More realistically, if you had looked at all three of these, though, you probably bought a little bit here, bought more here, bought more here. And this is another indicator. You're like, well, not only did it hit that zone, but the RSI was bottomed out. So this would have been a really good time to buy here on this third pump down below the bottom RSI here. So that's BAT. Pretty strong fundamental coin as well, but not as much as a platform like ZRX, right? This is kind of advertising, an advertising engine. Let's take a look at Cardano, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the last one. Let's look at this one. Here we go. So Cardano is the worst of all of the Coinbase crew. And by the worst, I mean it got hit the worst after the Coinbase announcement, which is this area of the chart right here. And then since then, it went all the way down to the 160, where kind of ZRX, BAT, and Zcash lie. And then it just kept going. In fact, it went so far that it went to the next number, 260% retrace from this Coinbase announcement. Holy shit, that's really bad. So Cardano just got absolutely trashed. And then, you know, came all the way down. And then as it was working back up, it hit this resistance here at 1350 Satoshis. And now it's just sort of sideways. So this chart just looks awful. It looks terrible. The volume is declining. The price is ranging. The RSI is just sitting there. It's got resistance. coming up here. So this chart looks really bad. Until it breaks through here, that's what you want to be looking for. But yeah, this looks the worst of all of them. Stellar looks the best. So recap, as far as the technical analysis, Stellar is the winner of all of these. And then the other three that were not Cardano are about equal, and then Cardano is kind of in last place as far as the technicals look. Yeah, Stellar has had a really nice run here. Man, there was a lot of money to be made in here. I wasn't trading this. So let's look at some other. So that's the Coinbase crew, which is kind of your litmus test for how alts have been performing lately, which is okay, like slowly climbing up out of the hole that they've dug for themselves. I will look at some other. If you guys have a chart you guys want me to look at, just call it out. Otherwise, I'll just kind of look at some. Let's look at Ethereum versus Bitcoin. I do like to look at that. Where's my 1-day chart? Isn't it here? Isn't it this one? There it is. Oh, I have to be on the log scale. There we go. So Ethereum against Bitcoin. Yeah, like this pattern here is kind of what you're seeing recently, which is altcoins are slowly creeping up again, but they're, it's a zigzaggy kind of thing. It's not like the parabolic thing back at the end of 2017 where you just couldn't lose money. We're not there yet, right? We're in a bear market, so you're going to see, periods of consolidation and periods of accumulation. So this is it's been an okay, like what was the date here? This is the 12th of September. So this month has been pretty good for Ethereum against Bitcoin, right? But now we're just kind of forming this. You could say this is a bull flag. It's hard to say. This is just sort of a symmetric triangle. It's hard to say if it's going to break up or down. Everything else is just sort of smack right in the middle. So let's look at some other charts that are just, let's look at Binance Coin. I like to see what Binance Coin has been doing. So Binance Coin was in a descending triangle, right? And, I had mentioned that the highest probability move from a descending triangle is to break down out of it. But as you can see, it broke up out of it, which can happen, sort of, going against the odds. And I think there was actually a fundamental reason for this. Like, didn't Binance announce something here, which was like something about their decentralized exchange or something? There might have been a fundamental reason for this. If not, I'm not sure what caused this gain. It was actually like, it was a sharp gain, but it was also very sharp decline. So let's see, how far did it go up? This is about, come on. It went 7%, which is a lot. That's a lot in a bear market. 7% in like just a couple of hours. That's crypto for you. And then it dropped almost half of that, but then it's sort of recovered, slowly recovered back. So Binance Coin is doing pretty well. RSI is not telling us much, except there's a bearish divergence here, but that probably predicted. So there is a bearish divergence here to here, and I think that could have been one of the predictors of this drop in price right here, that bear div. But now that we had that bear div, we kind of have a bull div forming here and here, right? Higher lows and lower lows in the oscillator. So that's a bullish divergence right there. But is there any other confluence of indicators that suggests that this is an interesting setup? Let's see. Let's see. We came off the top of the Bollinger Bands. We broke through the middle. Now we're kind of hitting it as resistance. So that's bearish. We're above the cloud. Ichimoku cloud is looking decent. We're still above the Kijun, which looks good. Hit the Tankinson, though, and got smacked down, so that's not good. You'd want to see it break through this blue line here before getting bullish about this. So, it's mixed. This is mixed. But we are out of this trend now. We have to look for a new trend, which I'm not seeing anything other than just sort of, you know, like if I bring this green horizontal, this was support way back here, and now it's resistance. I think if we drag this green all the way out here, right, we will see a perfect bounce off of this resistance, which has been here for a long time. This support was all the way back since May, right? Is I think when I drew this support, and now we just drag it all the way forward, and it's just been resistance, you know, once, twice, 3 times. Yeah, it's interesting though. A lot of people think that the more times a price bounces off a support or resistance, the less, you know, the more likely it is to kind of get away from that. But it's actually the opposite. The more times a price hammers on a support or resistance, like bang, 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 psh, that usually means it's going to break it, like break through it. And if that's a support, bounce, 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 it usually breaks down. If that's a resistance, bounce, 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 it usually breaks up. So, but it was kind of like bounce, bounce, and then a long time here. I guess you could consider this wick here pretty close. These aren't exact numbers. So you could say, hey, we got bounce, 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 break. Like that might happen. But we're watching this range, right? Like we've been in this range here since, you know, since August. So just kind of waiting to see what happens. So that's Binance. I've got about 15 minutes left. If you guys have any more questions, just don't forget to ask. Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of go through some of these watches that I set up. Let's look at some other. Let's look at Tron. Anything interesting here in Tron? Tron has actually been doing pretty well since August, right? Like you had this resistance here. You're kind of range bound, but you know it's got this nice slope here. Excuse my shaky hand drawing, but you guys get the picture, right? So you've kind of got an ascending triangle here, right? If we just take this and do that, so that's a bullish indicator. Although the RSI is really high, but that just means it's probably gonna, you know, do one of these, come down to the bottom, and then decide where it's going from here. So I'll leave that on there so we can see. I went through a lot of these a couple of weeks ago and just marked some predictions, and I want to go through them and see how they played out. So let's look at, did I do anything on EOS? No. Did I do anything on WAN? So WAN, we had drawn, this looks like a rising wedge, which is a bearish indicator usually, even though it's rising, because it's not a flat top. Although you could draw this flat if you ignored some of these, but to draw this literally, it's a rising wedge, which usually breaks down, but it looks nice now. We'll see. Hard to say. How about Bluzell? Do we have anything on Bluzell? I didn't make any predictions on Bluzell, at least not in the chart. Nice run. Like I think a lot of the alt charts are gonna look like this. They're just gonna be creeping up in this last week. Just, you know, these solid market cap coins, mid market cap coins, like just random ones are kind of all looking the same. ETC, not ETC. ETC's going down. Like ETC is just a coin that I just don't understand this coin. Like, why does anybody buy this? I don't know. I mean, why does anybody buy Dogecoin? It's the same thing. There's zero fundamental reason to buy Dogecoin, but people do it. I don't know. I can't understand it, but that doesn't mean you can't trade it and make money. It's just you have to do it purely based on technicals, not on fundamentals. I don't like that. I like that the coins that I like to buy are fundamentally strong and technically sound, and so I like to pair those two up. Let's look at let's see, what else do we have here. Dogecoin is the future. Yeah, I know what you mean, Cracks. I know what you mean. It's so funny. It's just so funny. that a coin like that can have the market cap that it has. I know I did a lot of these. I'm just trying to find the predictions I made. Let me just like go down and look for some of them. I drew in these charts, and I'm sure that it's saved. Nope, nothing here. Where are all of the coins that I did predictions on? Woo, Salt. Look at Salt. Holy crap, what happened here? 75% gain into an immediate 28% correction. That's crazy. That had to be something fundamental. ENJ. Maybe it just didn't save all of the lines that I drew on these charts. Oh wow, Engine Coin. That's a huge gain. What is that? That is that's almost 100%. Wow. Go Engine Coin. That's a gamer's coin. It's crazy. Wow, and then it came back like about halfway, about 50%. Now it's kind of headed down again. It's got a lot of room to fall though. Just kind of worried about that. OST. Wow, OST, same thing. All right, here was something I drew. So we were here, and I predicted something up to there, and it looks like it did that, almost, right? Kind of went up here. Actually, it did, just over a little longer time. That played out. That was Quark. Okay, so now we're getting into some of the lines I drew. I like to look to see if the predictions I made played out. Like, you're going to be right sometimes and wrong other times, but like, you know, validating your theories or learning, you know, kind of where something broke away from you it's just good to study these things. I could swear I made, okay, here's another one. So I predicted that this was going to go down to the bottom of the Bollinger Bands, and it did not. It actually went the other way. So here's an example of one where I was totally wrong. Although, well, yeah, now it's just kind of ranging. So this is a prediction I made, and I mean, you can't really short most altcoins, and if I would have, I probably would have had a stop loss right here anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, so this went the other direction. So why did that happen? There was a big spike on this day. Like, if this hadn't, it's like if you could erase this one candle here, like if you could erase this candle, and you take the rest of the chart and you cut and paste it like right to the point, like as if this rise never happened, then it actually would have gone down, right? You basically just moved like this candle here, and this whole pattern goes so that suggests to me that my prediction was correct technically, but something fundamentally caused this. There was some kind of announcement maybe, because I haven't been following this, right, in the news. I'm just looking at charts here. So if this was based on fundamentals, then this might have been an accurate prediction. But as we all know, news trumps TA, and you know, fundamentals are always more important than charts. Charts are great in the absence of news and fundamentals. So I don't know. I might call that a wash. Not because of pride or anything. Like I'm the first person to admit, yeah, that didn't play out, but I want to understand why. So I might need to look at storage at this date here exactly and see what happened on September. You know, what happened on September 16th for storage. You know, I might have to look at that and see, you know, what caused that. If there's nothing, then it was just a random, you know, a random buy that happened, and you know, then your prediction's wrong. That's why you have stop losses in cases like that. So don't think I have anything here. Verge. So Verge was in this channel. I think Verge is still in this kind of a channel. It just kind of had to just drop down a little bit, but it's still in the same kind of shape. So it is, I mean, it's mostly sideways, right? But if you look at the linear regression, it's probably going to be, you know, the RSI is about halfway. Well, I don't understand a single thing on that screen. Well, feel free to ask if you want. I mean, this is kind of advanced because I've been doing this for a while, but all questions are welcome. Ask as simple of a question as you want. Like, what do the green lines mean? What are the red lines? What do the red lines mean? What the heck is XVGBTC? I don't get it. If you have any specific questions, just ask. I'm happy to explain it. This is. I think of this as a stock chart, right? Like if I want to look at Apple stock or Microsoft stock, I'm going to look at charts like this, which just show the price of the stock over the day, over the course of days and weeks and hours. It's the same thing. These are cryptocurrencies though, not stocks. And I'm just looking at the ones that I have on my watch list here because I made a bunch of predictions on them, and I just want to see which ones I was right and wrong on. Ooh, WePower, look at that. Look at that. Way down from its all-time high here. But this looks really nice. Like this has been going up very well. But man, it is in the danger zone here, clearly, and it's probably going to correct quite a bit before it continues its run up. WePower, let's see, what else do we have here? Singles. What's WePower? WePower is a cryptocurrency, which WePower. I believe it's a cryptocurrency that's doing a distributed ledger based on green energy, like sorry, this is WePower. So what they do, if I'm not mistaken, is they let you convert your computer power to kilowatt energy that people can use for power. Like you pay your power bill, right? And you pay like, I don't know, $70 a month for your power bill, or $120 a month, or however big your house is, and the wattage that you use, right? So this allows you to share your power, to your computing power, to earn tokens that you can spend on real power. It's kind of like shared energy, right? And it's interesting. It's an interesting concept. And there's a few cryptocurrencies that are in this competitive space, and it's sort of turning around here as far as the price goes for it. If you look at the dollar price for it, it's like in the pennies. It's like 3 cents per token, per WePower token. But it's been going up recently a lot. Encash. So this is Nucleus Vision, and they are down quite a bit from their all-time high, but it looks like they're kind of in this accumulation, just flat right now, which is what you want to see. When you see a big bear, kind of a downward slope, you want to see a lot of this, and then a little bit, and then as soon as it starts to peek its head up, like, that's when you want to get in. Don't really see that yet, though. This is Seacoin. They're doing file storage. Fun. This is Funfair. They're doing casino casino slot machine tables and things on the blockchain. Fun and Fair. That's their logo. That's their name. Way down from their all-time high. This is Stellar. We have seen Stellar. We looked at that. Where in the heck are all of the coins I marked? I thought I did mark a whole bunch. Here's ZIL. All right, here's a prediction we made several weeks ago. We were here. I said it's probably going to go down here and then bounce up to there, and it did. So that was pretty good prediction. That played out. It took a little longer. Like it actually took until about here, and I needed to stretch this out to about this out to about here. But like the pattern did play. I need to put it back where I had it. There we go. So that was a good prediction on ZIL. ZIL's a strong fundamental coin too. It's a platform coin, which are the most interesting coins for this year, I think. I think that next year, 2019, will be kind of the distributed applications and exchanges. But right now, this year, it's mostly about platforms. Stellar, ZRX, ZIL, Eternity. There's a few of them out there that are doing interesting things. And then maybe in 2020 we finally get to the blockchain interoperability coins like WAN, ICX, and Aeon. But they're a little ahead of their time right now. Litecoin, but please include the diff chart. A different chart. You want to look at Litecoin? Okay, let's look at Litecoin, LTC. How about Litecoin against US dollars? Is that what you want to see? Like Litecoin against Coinbase? So let's look at Litecoin. It's kind of had a nice run. Difficulty. Oh, Litecoin's difficulty chart, as in mining difficulty. I don't know. I don't have a bookmark to that. Difficulty chart. Litecoin difficulty chart. So I don't do mining myself, but let's compare this, right? So let's compare this to Ethereum difficulty chart, and then let's do one more for Bitcoin difficulty chart. So let's look at all. Let's apples to apples these, shall we? Okay. So let's start with Bitcoin, then do Ethereum, and then Litecoin. So here's the Bitcoin difficulty chart, and the Bitcoin difficulty is going up, which is what you would expect. Ethereum difficulty is sort of kind of hanging steady. And then Litecoin has actually had a big drop recently. What caused that? So I don't know what caused this. Do you know what this is from? Like I said, since I'm not personally mining, I don't follow the difficulty as much as I do like follow masternode statistics and charts and things like that, since I do staking. But this is something I'll have to look at. So I don't know why. I can't tell you why this happened or what it means. But I can look into it, and I will bookmark this. Let me pull this page off so I can take a look into it for next week. It's interesting. Let's see. I've got about a minute left. Let me just see if there were any other predictions on here that I made in the last couple of weeks. There should be some. Power Ledger, Lisk. A lot of these coins, a lot of these altcoins just look pretty much the same. Here's one. Here's a prediction I made. I predicted that we were here and we were going to drop to the bottom of this and bounce. We did bounce off the bottom of the Bollinger Bands. Actually, we got pretty close. If you count these wicks, we got pretty darn close to the bottom prediction I made. We got to right there. That's pretty close. It took till here. Well, there was one here too. One here, and then back up, and then a bounce. Broke through this, though. Let's see. Yep. Broke through that. Well, actually, did it reestablish? No. So this is now gone. And now we have some kind of accumulation. Look how tight the bands are getting here, though. Man, this thing is ready to pop. This is IOTA. Look how low it is from its all-time high, though. Like, if you go way out, let's go way out in IOTA. I mean, it's still got room to fall, but IOTA's all-time high was here, and we are 81, about 81+% down from there. Anyways, I think this is probably a good time to end the stream. TLDR. We are still... TLDR for you guys. We are still in a bear market. We have been in a bear market since the beginning of the year. We will be in a bear market until we can break through this diagonal resistance. And that's probably not going to happen until late October, mid-October to November timeframe at the earliest. And at the latest, ding, 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 it could be, November, December timeframe. Now, historically, November and December are very good months for crypto, but not every year. Last year, they certainly were. And more years they are than are not, but that doesn't mean we're necessarily going to see a bull run. But I don't know. Who knows? Once we get into the October, November timeframe, maybe the sentiment change. Maybe there's some interesting announcements. Maybe something happens in the news that is bullish for crypto. We'll have to see. Thank you guys for joining me and geeking out with me on crypto. I'm going to play some video games now. I'm going to reset the stream, which will take a couple of minutes. You guys are welcome to hang out if you want to watch video games. And you can chat about crypto. You can chat about video games. Anything is fine. Or if you're pretty much only interested in crypto, then I will see you guys next Saturday at exactly the same time for more crypto. Until then, I'm going to sign off, and I'll be back in 2 minutes for those of you who want to hang around. So catch you guys next week.